Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with these nerds.
Nerdarchy's Dave.
And Ryan.
Today we got a GM 911 from Dan Fallis, and he's got an issue with his new players taking too long between rounds in combat, trying to talk tactics, and then
it's kind of like this. His players are complaining the combats are taking too long, and then he diagnosed the problem himself.
Right.
Of the players communicating with each other far too much during.
They're drawing up battle plans. We must strike here, here, and here.
They're talking about where they're located, what tactics are going to be used, where they should be standing, what spells. So they're taking forever to try and get to the actual mechanics of it.
Of doing the thing.
Right.
But before we get into that and talking about taking forever, if you have a GM911, you can submit them to nerdarchy@gmail.com, GM911 in the subject line. That's how Dan Thalos gave this to us. Or head over to our forum, and there's a GM911 section there that you can put it in. You get lots of great feedback from the community there. So there's kind of a perk of instant feedback. And also, there's a Nerdarchy newsletter that you can sign up for and learn how to game with Nerdarchy and get some tips and tricks.
But wait, there's more!
Yeah. A flashing sign. Yeah.
So, all right. And I think this is really, he's figured out the problem that he needs to talk to the players and really limit the out-of-game conversations and say, look, your characters are in a split-second decision. You can't just be like, well, in real-world events, all right, guys, how do you think we should beat up these guys?
It's like they're playing Risk, where they're mapping strategies, collaborating, making alliances.
So you need to limit that down. All right, pre-combat, you get a minute. After that,
10 seconds, 20 seconds, or something.
Then forget that. After that, it's heat of the battle. You're in the thick of it. You don't have time to really sit back and really rationalize. Your time to think about what's going on is during everyone else's turn.
Yeah.
Once it gets to yours, you really need to know what it is you're doing.
But they're discussing tactics. It's not even one player. They're going back and forth across the table. What do you think? If I move here and then you move there and we move our knight to bishop and you go to castle.
They're like, it's funny you went with the chess analogy. Yeah. I was going to be like, I was going to say they're moving their minis around, but they're like, I haven't taken my finger off it yet. It doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't count. Yeah.
So I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. You've kind of solved your own problem. As far as other things, the speed up, the biggest thing is just for people to know what they're going to do on their turn. Because I find that's the biggest thing that eats it up. I mean, there's little things that I find don't matter that much, like rolling your damage with your attacks, and maybe you could put someone in charge of initiative. That's a lazy dungeon master tip that might be a good idea if it's someone's job to basically push everyone into whose turn it is and
right.
keeping track. Maybe you'll give them kind of minor reward for doing the job.
Yeah. And in spellcasters, you have the biggest plethora of options.
Right.
Do you know what the plethora is? I'm kidding. There's 3 amigos, was it? Yeah. But so as a spellcaster, you have the most options and the most things in your toolbox. And so as a spellcaster, as soon as I've made my turn and cast my one spell of this turn, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do the next turn as people go around in initiative order, so I know exactly what I'm going to cast by the time.
Yeah, you might want to pick what you're going to do in your backup plan.
Yeah, plan A and B, because that really the spellcasters are the ones that could eat up the most time. As far as that goes.
Now, I will say that he mentions in his email that the party is making a racket. Now, I don't know.
They're making a ruckus, and could you describe the ruckus?
I can't describe the ruckus, but
can you bring the ruckus?
No.
Oh, I can bring the ruckus if you want.
No, bring the noise, bring the funk.
He says that
I don't know about you guys, but when Ted said that, I got chills a little bit.
Now, he says that the party is prone to making a lot of loud noises, and he has to wind up bringing in monsters from other rooms, which winds up prolonging the combat even more.
There isn't really a way to have combat that isn't noisy, though, to be honest with you.
So I think that to some extent that's
unless
a good
you
thing.
Rainbow Six them and start slitting throats real quick.
I think to some extent that's a good thing because it's showing you that they're living in a living and they're in a living and breathing world.
They're not playing a video game where they just spawn when they enter the room.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, from the other side, though, if this is happening all the time in every single room, they get into combat, they make noise from yelling and screaming, and that brings in more monsters. I think then possibly you want to tone that kind of stuff down.
Spread your monsters out.
Well, like make your quarters longer, so it's reasonable that they might have barely heard this or not really
You know,
at all.
like-
Have your monsters invest in good soundproofing.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
or the monsters in the next room could have heard something, and now they're prepared, and they've got some kind of trap or something set up to lay waste the adventurers that have started to attack.
Okay, so you're raiding the compound of militaristic orcs. Orcs hear fights with other orcs in the other room, and so orcs are chaotic evil. So they might just be like, "Fuck these other guys in this other room." What we're gonna do is
I don't
set
like Bob that much
Yeah,
anyway.
So we're gonna set up a barricade. They flipped all the tables on their sides to use for cover. They have crossbows trained. As soon as the party enters the room, they're just gonna sprout
Like
feathers.
sit, heel, roll over.
Yeah, exactly. So they're gonna, they're just gonna put 10 crossbow bolts into the first person to come through the door, and they're gonna get dropped, and then the fight's gonna start. So
I mean,
they've set it up.
That's some options that you can do so that you're not increasing the amount of monsters in the combat, so that one is going to get streamlined. You've got something else that it still affected them because the next monsters are now ready for it, and have somebody make an investigate roll or a knowledge roll to be like, well, why would this happen? Oh, well, maybe we were too loud, and now they're ready for us. Crap.
If someone's reasonably intelligent enough, above 12,
You just explain it.
You can just explain it to. You don't need to roll that shit.
Yeah.
One of the other things I would say is why not default to the minion or mook roll from 4th edition and other games where you just have monsters in there. When you hit them, they pop.
Yeah.
You can make them as tough as all the other monsters for their AC and their damage, and maybe if they make their saving throw and area affect things, they don't pop.
They're basically stormtroopers, like weak ass stormtroopers. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
but so this way it has a couple effects. One, it's cinematically, I think it's kind of cool to have those monsters that are still kind of threatening, but at the same time, they go down real easy, so it doesn't prolong
They're
or
chumps, yeah.
protract the battle. So that might be something to look at as well.
Yeah, and also too, I mean, another thing to add to sort of the cinematic reality of the game realism. Like if they just had a pretty hard fight that they were pretty noisy at, and you have that other room with the orcs laying in wait or whatever, but then your party's like, oh, we're gonna take a short rest because we expend a lot of resources. We need to get some of that shit back. Then you send out 3 or 4 of those orcs in the other room because they're like, they're waiting here for crossbows
they
train.
doing?
What are they doing? They took an hour? They're taking lunch right now? I'm feeling insulted. They're in our dungeon, our barracks, and they're taking a lunch. And this aggression will not stand. And then 4 of the orcs go out and then pop crossbows into them, run back to the ambush, and then this way your party gets dinged up again, and you don't get their short rest. I mean, it's being realistic of you don't take lunch in somebody's barracks, somebody's stronghold.
Yeah, it's like the burglar that breaks in,
Yeah, he's gonna
takes a
stop.
shower, and makes a sandwich.
Watches some Netflix, man, you watched all the Daredevil.
These guys got paid cable. I don't have that. I'm staying.
Yeah, exactly. What's on Springer right now?
So, do you guys have any other advice for Dan Fallon?
Yeah, just one final thing. When in your mind the battle's over, but the fighting's still going on, freaking end the battle. Don't keep it going. As a DM, we all know when the battle is over, and either have them run away, have something happen,
Or just cinematic it. Okay, there's two goblins left that for some reason they just can't land an attack roll on, to save their life. And it's a piddly goblin. It's got 2 hit points left.
You sneeze at it and it dies. So
So you just quit the dice rolling and say, okay, you guys
Mop up.
Bob, Bill, you guys get the killing blow on the 2 goblins that are left. How did you do it?
describe it.
Yeah, because at a certain point, you're just rolling dice to roll dice.
If either a substantial number of the foes have been routed or the ones that mattered have been dropped, everything else just falls like dominoes.
Yeah, I pretty much did a vampire encounter with zombies, and once my vampire was defeated, I just had the zombies fall over because there was a lot of them. They were there to be an obstacle and obstruction, but it wasn't going to be an interesting combat with my players versus the zombies.
Right.
No, yeah, it gets boring after a while.
So, I don't know. You guys in the comments below, let us know how you handle it. Do you have any tricks, tips you want to give for speeding up combat? While you're at it, share, and subscribe.
You can patronize us in a good way over on Patreon.
You can head over to nerdarchy.com and check out the cool articles there.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.